right, here we are at the next piece. Here we are, magically. Poof.
Foxy Fox.
Yes. Foxy Brown.
Foxy.
So this is called Zorro, which is fox in Spanish. It's by Brewer, who's an artist out of Texas. Jeffy makes really fun, playful, very what I would call illustrative or graphic work, where this piece doesn't necessarily have a lot of, in sculpture the term would be dynamism, in the sense where you walk around it and it changes. This piece is pretty much the same front to back. But it's really playful, really fun. It's made out of steel that's been painted, and the steel, I think for this wasn't laser cut, but he often will get his steel cut with a laser from files that he makes in Adobe Illustrator. So for Emmy's digital students, you can see how maybe something that you have 2D can be translated on a larger scale 3D through sculpture. Additionally, Emmy was asking about this base here before we started filming. And if you come closer, you can see we've welded it to the steel plate here, but there's also these bolt holes to connect to maybe concrete, depending on where the piece is installed. So this piece has been installed in lots of other locations besides Midtown. And a lot of our Midtown Sculpture Alliance artists will make public artwork that travels around to different exhibitions in different venues across the United States. So this piece is seen lots of different places. Other people, like my friend Letitia Bayuho is also on the board of directors. She was in she was like, oh yeah, I've seen the fox, in Corpus. It was there for a while, right? So there's this kind of interesting life that these public sculptures lead outside of the artist. What else? So this is made out of painted steel. And Tanja, what were you asking me?
Well, I noticed that this one is not as hot as the other ones because it's in direct sunlight. We're, in the middle of the day. And I was wondering why this one was so much cooler. It's still warm, but why? Maybe because it's hollow?
I would guess it's because it's hollow. I'm not sure, but the Turtle Down Totem piece is hollow too. So I don't really know. And that piece was in the shade.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why.
Are there different grades of steel?
Yes, there are different thicknesses.
Maybe that's what it
grades
is?
of steel. That could be related for sure. And this has been painted with this heavy duty orange paint. And it was placed outside the Montessori school. So do you want to talk a little bit? We were talking a little bit about placement, and like in Midtown, there's different areas that we've been in so far have been the Charter School, the Prosperity Center, and the Midtown Partners office. And we were constrained by the locations that Midtown Partners own.
I think this one works well in front of a school because it's an animal. It could be a small animal, a large animal. I think kids, their first introductions to animals are when they're really, really small. And so I remember a few years ago, what sound does the fox make? You remember that?
And that song is like not what a fox sounds like.
It's not, but it's like, so I think the kids could make up their own song of what does a fox say? What does a fox sound like? I like the orange. I like that the tail is dipped. It's like it's dipped in something, and you can make your I guess your tail be dipped in whatever.
White chocolate.
White chocolate. It could be, what would a fox get into where his tail would be dipped and change colors? So it's just so many things you can think about, but I do like that it is an animal in front of a school because kids are introduced to animals. That's their first introduction. So yeah. I like the color. I like the brightness of the orange. It's not a bright neon orange. It's a really orangey orange. If that's
It's like a burnt sienna, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that a good description of the orange?
And I like it. So yeah, and it looks well up against this very pretty green grass.
Yeah, I think it looks great. And the building is like kind of a beige building, so it's a nice pop of color. When I saw this piece when we were jurying, I was like, this piece is so cute. We have to get this piece. This piece is so cute, so adorable. Everyone's gonna love this piece. Oh, like we gotta get this piece.
So I'm wondering one thing.
Yeah.
Why did the artist, and I'm kind of short, so why did the artist do see-through, like cut all the way through on
Instead
the eyes?
of just painting eyes?
Just paint the eyes on here.
I think that's a sculptural decision.
Okay.
Right? I think that's a way of breaking this plane up, and then it adds a lot of depth in terms of the eyes. He also does this on a lot of his other pieces. If you look on his website.
Here.
Yeah. So the sculptural terms for this would be positive and negative space.
Okay.
So we're seeing the shape of the fox. The shape of the fox is the positive space. And then this shape in between the positive space, like where I'm peeking out, becomes the negative space.
Okay.
All right, so this is also used in drawing and in graphic design to describe like maybe like figure ground relationships. So sure, like what's part of the page, what's the figure, and you can see this playing out in this piece really well. It's really attractive. Like he didn't make it like really jagged, you know, like because foxes have fur. He didn't talk about any of that, but we can kind of see that in the tail depicting.
Yeah. And it's almost really subtle right here.
Yeah.
It's just that one little zigzag.
I love that. It adds with like what you're talking about, like a narrative or playfulness.
So, and I like how we kind of talk about the different sculptures, with your background of art and sculpture and all that, and my just layperson, as a person who likes to look at art and can have an interpretation. I think it's going to be really important that people look at it as you don't have to be an expert in art. You don't have to be an expert in, you know, the artist or the different terminologies and all of that. You can see it however you choose to see it.
Yes. I 100% endorse that statement. I 100% agree. I think art is for everyone, right? And art should be accessible to everyone. Everyone should be able to be creative in their lives, whether they call themselves an artist or not. So I think we talked about maybe talking about our opinions about public art. Public art provides that for community, right? And all communities deserve public art, I think. And sometimes that can be limited to, you know, people who can afford it, right? Or the people who, I think in Atlanta they have a 1% tax, and 1% of any new building in Fulton County has to go towards public art. So when we think about bureaucracy, that it can be the power of bureaucracy, where you say 1% of whatever it is that we're doing should be funding public art pieces. Not every city's the same. You know, in Jackson, our concerns are more our 1 cent tax to go towards fixing our roads. Like we all said, yes, we need that.
Yes, we do.
But I also think we need public art, and so that's why, you know, I wanted to bring more public art that's contemporary and not based in the past. And you can see that playing out a lot right now too. The Confederate monuments, and they're taking down the Confederate monument outside of City Hall. But what about the piece that's outside of the Capitol? The Daughters of the American
American Revolution?
I know it's
Confederacy.
The Daughters of the Confederacy paid for it to honor the mothers of Confederate soldiers. I'm like, what about all mothers? And there's a Confederate flag on the side of it.
But I think also with art, it gives you an opportunity to express your creativity and thought. Like, how do you think creatively? What do you think about where there's no right or wrong, and whatever you think is right for you? And so, in thinking about this particular sculpture, I'm like, okay, so if you were a fox, or if you were foxy, what outfit would you put on to come and stand?
Foxy lady.
Like, what would you do? And so, you know, just thinking about those different things. And so, I'm interested in hearing what other people think about it, how they would prop themselves up against the sculpture, how they will become one with the sculpture in doing something. So,
one thing also you brought up is this idea of narratives, you know, and the narratives we create, and I think public art can promote that imaginative thinking. Where if you see a piece of artwork made by another artist, as a human, I feel like I don't want to speak for all humans, right? But like the response is like, oh, that's creativity. Like, oh, that somebody's speaking through art making to me. So what is that like spark in you? And hopefully, you know, like a little kid who draws this, like that's inspiration. Literally, I'm being inspired. Like I'm drawing this piece, and it's like fun. Oh, art's for me.
One of the things I saw recently, since, you know, we're picking a new flag and the flag commission is meeting and doing some different things, is how someone on Facebook took one of the popular designs and kind of put it into some prominent figures' pictures and their names. And I'm like, you know what? I can see that. And so that kind of, it sparked creativity in that person to look at, okay, how would this look as a part of this?
As a part of like our daily lives.
Yes. How would it, and it was like, this is so great. It's really so great. So hey, we'll see.
Public art, right?
Yeah.
We're getting a new flag.
Yeah, we're gonna get a flag.
We're damn well gonna get a new flag. So I think symbolism is important. The symbols we put out there are important. Just for our communal health. And that was one thing we talked about when we were jurying. And like I think part of the reason why some pieces didn't make it into this show that might make it into another show in a different environment. Right? So it is really important when you're putting up these sculpture walks or sculpture exhibits that are in the public that you try to reach out to the community
Yes.
as much as possible. So.
Because they may see it totally different. Or they may see something that is like, okay, we got to make sure that we pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Because when we put art in public spaces, we want to make sure that we engage and not offend.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make sure we do that. So yeah, and from what I've seen so far with the sculptures, yeah. So yeah.
All right, so we did okay.
We did okay.
I mean, according to us,
We did. We will know soon if we didn't.
that's true. So let us know. Comment, right?
All right. So are we about to move on to the next
Yeah,
one?
let's go. Number 5, right? Number 5.
Yeah.
Number 5. All right, let's do it.